So hey there, welcome back. We are already on week 5 in our Human Behavior and the Social Environment 2 class here at Widener. So this week's learning, we're going to focus on 2 different parts, aspects, or subjects once again. So the first part, we're going to talk about schizophrenia. And in the second part, we're going to focus on the very important clinical issues of both transference and countertransference. While schizophrenia doesn't occur as frequently as other conditions, it has a significant impact on the person, their family, and sometimes the entire community. So the second part of the week's topic is transference and countertransference. And this is a really critical aspect of clinical practice to examine here. So completing an assessment and making a diagnosis can be deeply influenced by many factors. And transference and countertransference are just 2 of these factors. So self-awareness is something that's needed to be objective as possible in the diagnostic process. So we're going to take a really deep dive into these concepts, which are always present in some aspect, depending on how you're theoretically oriented and trained in any type of clinical session or encounter. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to jump on over to the learning resources here in our objectives, readings and media. So you're being asked to read all of these 3 assigned schizophrenia readings. And then from this second section of schizophrenia readings, you're going to choose simply 1 to read. And then there's 1 transference and countertransference assigned reading here. Then we have 2 different media sources. There's a psych website case examples link, as well as a SAMHSA website community conversations link, which is really an outstanding resource here for you. We also have some week 5 videos that are going to help you further develop your understanding of schizophrenia and schizophrenia spectrum disorders here. So I highly recommend that you watch all of these videos. They're really going to help not only deepen your understanding, but also deepen your experience with each other here in our online discussion board this week. So here in week 5, you have 2 online discussion board postings assigned to you this week. The first one is entitled Community Conversations About Mental Health, and it is essentially in 2 parts. So for part 1, using the SAMHSA websites, the discussion guide for community conversations about mental health as a resource, and the information about schizophrenia from your Francis and your DSM-5 assigned readings, you're going to choose 1 of the 4 session ideas from the SAMHSA website guide, and then actually go and explain the symptoms of schizophrenia to a family member, to one of your friends, or to a colleague who may not be familiar with the symptoms. So ideally you want to choose a non-professional or somebody that really has no idea about schizophrenia. And I want you to teach them all about it using non-professional and layperson language and dialogue. So for part 2, for your initial post, you're going to state which of the 4 sessions ideas that you used and provide a brief summary in your own words of what you said to the family member, friend, or colleague. So in addition, I'd like you to describe what you would change if you could redo that explanation. So this particular discussion board assignment does require that you follow up with at least 1 classmate, preferably someone who does not yet have responses. Your initial post is due on Thursday, and your follow-up post is due between Friday and Sunday this week. So for your second week 5 discussion board post, we're going to explore transference and countertransference. So for your initial post prompt, I'd like you to give an example of how transference, countertransference, or projection might affect the process of assessment for making a mental health diagnosis. So for this particular prompt, I'd like you to follow up with at least 1 of your classmates, preferably someone who doesn't have responses. And you remember that your initial post is due on Thursday and that your follow-up responses are due between Friday and Sunday. And finally, your last assignment this week is to complete the online MSW program feedback survey. So again, this particular survey, like the mid-semester evaluation, is brief, it's confidential, and it's anonymous. And your voice really counts here. So I thank you in advance for your contributions and for taking this brief MSW program survey. So I hope you have a fabulous week, and don't forget to reach out if you have questions.